So this is a short video demonstration of a Power application that we've built that helps identify students or even employees that are not engaging. The way we identify them is by taking data from Microsoft Teams, but this could also be other types of applications as well, where you can access the kind of log information or activity type information from the application. What we do is we pull that data into the Common Data Service, which is part of Power Apps, and then we run some analytics on that data. So we in this case we look for students that have got a low number of calls, a low number of meetings, a low number of private chats, and we can use that data to then calculate, do we think that person is active or kind of inactive. So our low engaging student is somebody that is inactive across all these channels. The values are completely configurable. So in our case, we look for anybody that is kind of below 5 across all the metrics. This is completely configurable. We could have higher values on certain metrics and lower values on others, but in our case, we're just using 5. As I say, it's totally configurable. So let's have a look at one of these students that's been flagged. So if we take this one here, Grant Ritchie. So if we look at his information, we can see there we've got things like contact information, we've got the ability to add mobiles, phones, things like that. And then this section here is how we identify him. So we can see that he is in a low engagement state. He became low engaged on the 24th. So we look at data across a 7-day period, and then we take an aggregated view of that data. And then finally, this section here, we can actually see the Teams data in our case. So we can see the last time the data was refreshed, the last activity date that was reported from Teams, and then the different metrics that we are looking at. Once a user has been identified as being low engaging, they appear in this list. We also have different views as well. So we can look at all students, or we could look at the engaging students. As I say, once they've been identified, what we then do is we kick off a task that reaches out to that student to see, whether they've got any kind of problem, maybe that's stopping them from engaging at the moment, and that gets sent out as an automated email. We could use other systems, so we could use SMS. It's again, the whole process is completely configurable, and we could add other methods in there in the future as well. At the moment, we just use email, and what happens is the student gets sent a request via email to ask them for more information. That request is active for 7 days, so they'll be given a link. If they don't complete it after the 7 days, that request gets automatically turned into a task with a type of they've not contacted us. So it's to give, in our case, we're talking about higher education and universities. It's to give maybe the lecturer or somebody in student services the opportunity to try and connect with them in a different way. So the user receives an email similar to this, and again, we can configure this text in any way we want to, with a link in it. That link takes them into Power Portal, and they're just asked to fill in a little bit of basic information. So we've got a number of categories here. Again, these are all configurable. We can add more in, we could take them out, we can change them, but we've just put some kind of sample ones in there. So we're going to say our student's got a financial problem. Can't pay. Right. We submitted that. So what happens once that's been submitted is that pending request converts into a task. So hopefully we should see this task at the bottom of the list. So now we can see that Grant Ritchie is actually should no longer have a pending request. There's an open task against him, and in there We open that task. We can now see the information that the student has provided. What's also possible is, effectively, because we are categorizing the data as it's coming in, what we can now do is we can filter that data off into different categories. So all the categories that we have on the list, we can create views and filter those off. This also gives the ability then to assign issues to different queues. So, we might assign financial issues to one person. We might file off mental health or medical issues to somebody else, and accommodation issues elsewhere. This is all configurable again, but by default we've split this data into these different queues, and it means that it can be filtered into different departments, so different people can act on this information. So really, that's as far as kind of the app goes. It's about giving people the opportunity to identify people and offer them help. The other thing we've done is we've also integrated a chatbot into it. So again, we've got our dummy university, and if I go down here, I can start a conversation with the bot. Right, so again, I can't pay my rent, and the bots, we're using language understanding, so we're using artificial intelligence to understand the user's intent and then be able to respond in a way that the user can interact with us. So yes, I am having difficulties. Okay, let's put in an email address. So let me just go and choose a user, and let's fill in one of their emails. So let's find a student. We'll use this one at the top. Okay, so I've given the bot some information. Now the bot's gone speaking to the Power App, and it's going to raise that as a task against this person. The reason we're using the email is we need a way of identifying that person, but we could integrate the bot with Azure Active Directory, and if the user was authenticated, we would already know who they were, and we could just not ask that question. In this case, this is completely unauthenticated, so we need a way to identify them, which is by their email. So if I go back into here, what we're expecting to see now, and if I filter it by financial issues, we should now see a new task in here. If we open that up, we can now see some issues. So it's been categorized correctly as a financial issue, and we've got a description of the issue. So we're able to interact with the Power App in other different ways, and this is done through webhooks, and we can use Power Automate to drive some of this. That's the end of the demo. So hopefully that was informative, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.